Hey everyone, it's Pedro, and welcome to our first official deep dive episode of Is It Because of Jesus? I am so excited because today we get to start our journey together through my novel, For Those Who Doubt, Is It Because of Jesus? We're going to begin, of course, with chapter 1. In the first half of our time, I want to pull out and really explore 5 key moments from the story that I think are crucial. Then, in the second half, we'll connect those moments back to our main theme and talk about what Jesus can teach us through them. My real hope is that by walking through this story, it will help you get a little closer to the heart of your own journey with doubt and deconstruction. So get comfortable and let's jump in. Okay, well, chapter 1, doubts are creeping. The first moment is Thomas' confession itself. After some initial small talk, Thomas finally gathers the strength to say what's been tearing him apart. He leans forward and whispers to his best friend, "I don't think I believe Christianity is true anymore." So let's pause here and sit in the weight of that sentence. This is a moment of immense vulnerability and existential risk. Thomas isn't just sharing an intellectual opinion, he's confessing a fundamental shift in his identity. So I'm going to be talking a lot about this. There are many intellectual arguments, and many times we use the shield of intellectualism to cover something that is going on in our hearts. This is a distinction I want to bring attention to many times because I think it's very important. But going back to Thomas, in that moment, his fear is palpable. You can hear it in his hesitation, the tears in his eyes, and his nervous question to Peter right after. "What are you thinking? How does this make you feel?" And what Thomas is feeling here is the fear of relational rupture. Have you felt that? Maybe you have talked to someone about the fact that you are doubting now or deconstructing or moving away from Christianity. For so many who grow up in a Christian community, their belief system is deeply intertwined with their sense of belonging to their family, their friends, their significant other, their church. In a way, to question the belief feels like you're threatening the entire structure of your life. Do you feel like that? But you're not, truly. The underlying fear is this: if I am no longer one of you in belief, will I still be one of you in love? Will you still accept me? This is the terror that silences so many people and forces them to wrestle with their doubts in isolation. But please, you don't have to do that. I encourage you to find someone to talk to. If you don't have anyone, why don't you email me? This leads us to our second and perhaps most powerful moment, Peter's reaction to what Thomas said. When Thomas asks him how he feels, Peter doesn't respond with arguments, disappointment, or even a lecture. He looks at his friend and says something. Wow. He says, "I'm proud of you." Of course, Thomas is stunned. "What do you mean?" he asks. And Peter repeats it, explaining, "I am proud of you because you care enough for truth that you're not afraid of asking questions. I will still care for you wherever your journey of doubting and questioning takes you." This is the antidote to the fear of rejection. What Peter does here is create a space of unconditional, positive regard. He immediately separates Thomas' identity from his current conclusions, and he affirms the person and the process, not the position. So Peter reframes doubt not as a spiritual failure, but as an act of integrity, a courageous pursuit of truth. And of course, this completely deconstructs the shame associated with questioning and is the essential first step in helping someone navigate their doubts without being crushed by fear. So let's move to moment number 3 of chapter 1. Once this safe space is established, Thomas feels free to diagnose the root of his struggle. This is our third crucial moment. Peter asks him when the questioning began, and Thomas reveals something profoundly relatable for anyone who grew up in the Christian faith. He says this, "Peter, a few months back, I realized my faith wasn't my own. It was my parents." He continues, "I feel like I came to believe Christianity was true because I had to, not because I needed to." So this is the classic crisis of a borrowed faith. We actually borrowed many things: language, culture, manners. But while this is a necessary, although painful, developmental stage, it's the moment a person realizes the foundation they have been standing on was built by others. Their beliefs were inherited, not earned. The anxiety and deconstruction Thomas is experiencing is the unsettling, chaotic process of, let's say, dismantling a second-hand faith to see if a genuine, personal one can be built in its place. So hey, it's not a rejection of God as much as it is a rejection of a faith that was never truly his own to begin with. In moments like this, we tend to, in this case with Thomas, his context would be blaming his parents. But truly, his parents were trying to do the best they could do. They believed Christianity was true. They acted on that belief. But Thomas is a human being independent from his parents. And at one point, he needs to realize, wow, do I believe this because I want to, because I need to, or it's just part of a tradition? There's a tendency to question the whole belief because of the way we got to retain the belief, but I would encourage you not to do that. Many people believe that realizing your faith is borrowed is the same as losing your faith. But I don't think that's the same. Think of it like being handed a map for a city you have lived in your whole life. For years, you followed the routes exactly as they were given to you. The process of questioning is like looking up from the map and deciding to learn the streets for yourself. The point isn't to throw the map away and declare yourself lost. It is to see if the routes make sense, to find your own landmarks, and to maybe even discover a better way. Walking away the moment you realize the map was given to you means you never get the chance to make the city your own. Moment 4 of chapter 1. So this exploration leads to a fourth crucial moment where Peter offers Thomas a powerful new framework for his doubt. After Thomas admits his questioning feels like it is leading him away from God, Peter shares his own experience. He says this, "I would be lying to you if I said that I do not have doubts like that. However, when I doubt toward God, not away from God." This distinction is a game changer. Doubting away from God is an isolating process because it involves pulling back, treating God as a problem to be solved from a distance, and letting questions fester in the dark. But doubting toward God reframes the entire act. It turns a question into a prayer. It turns confusion into a conversation. It means bringing your uncertainties, your anger, your frustrations to God, rather than using them as a reason to walk away. It treats God not as the subject of your investigation, but as your partner in it. This reframes doubt from an act of separation into a potential act of intimacy with Him. My friend, I promise you, if you're doubting, deconstructing about something specifically, it might be a process that is involving your whole faith, but usually it's not. And doubting about something doesn't mean that God doesn't exist. We need to expect that a genuine faith is going to involve moments that are going to be difficult, moments where you are the Son of God and are afraid, like He was in the Garden of Gethsemane. It might be that you are doubting to be shaped more into the image of Jesus. It doesn't have to mean that you have to lose your faith in Him. Lastly, this is moment number 5. This is when Thomas' doubt is shown not to be just an abstract philosophical problem. And this is so common. We use intellectual arguments to cover what we really feel so much, because intellectual arguments are concepts floating in the air that are distant from what we are feeling. Be very careful, my friend, with using intellectual arguments to hide what you truly are and are feeling in the moment. I've met many people who would do everything they could to make others believe their journey is all an intellectual one. But rarely it is. It's deeply personal and relational. The conversation eventually turns to his fiancée, Sophia. Thomas' voice cracks as he says, "I love her." He's terrified of telling her, not because he thinks she will abandon him, but because he's afraid of hurting her. He worries that by questioning God, she might think he's questioning their love. And then he asks the most heartbreaking question, "Peter, what if my doubts cause her to doubt too? How could I live with the thought that I could be the reason she lost her faith in God too?" So this is many times the existential core of the issue for so many. The doubt is painful, but the thought of transferring that pain to someone you love is unbearable. It's a fear rooted in love and responsibility. Peter's gentle wisdom here is crucial as he reminds Thomas that Sophia's faith belongs to her. So he frees Thomas from the crushing burden of being the keeper of his fiancée's faith. This moment shows that at its deepest level, the fear behind doubt is often the fear of lost connection and causing pain to those we cherish the most. All of this is very deep, rooted in our deepest emotions. I really want to help you know how to distinguish all the noise and all the sounds, because some of that noise is beautiful sound too, so that you actually face Jesus after doing all of that, to realize that the answer for your doubts and deconstructions should be given to Him and not anything that is around Him. Okay, so let's move now to part 2 of our episode. Now we're going to talk about Jesus. So where do we find hope in this messy, painful, but courageous journey of questioning? Peter consistently points Thomas back to one person, Jesus. But it's not just in the words of a friend, It's in the actions of Jesus himself that we find the ultimate fulfillment for this struggle. When we think of doubt in the Gospels, we often think of the Apostle Thomas, the very namesake of our character. To be honest with you, sometimes I think we are so hard on Thomas, but that's a conversation for another time. After the resurrection, when the other disciples tell him they have seen Jesus, Thomas declares, "Unless I see the nail marks in his hands and put my finger where the nails were and put my hand into his side, I will not believe." A week later, what does Jesus do? Does he appear and scold Thomas for his lack of faith? Does he condemn his need for empirical evidence? No. He does the most empathetic and beautiful thing imaginable. Jesus appears, walks directly to Thomas, and invites him into his wounds. He says, "Thomas, put your finger here. See my hands. Reach out your hand and put it into my side. Stop doubting and believe." As you can see, and this is very important for you right now, Jesus doesn't fear our doubt. He doesn't shy away from our deepest, most skeptical questions. Instead, Jesus meets us right there in the place of our uncertainty and offers not an answer, but himself. He offers his resurrected, wounded body as the evidence. This interaction shows us that Jesus' love is not contingent on our certainty. He moves toward the questioner, inviting them to find the answer, not in a perfect argument, but in a personal encounter with him. So if you decide to open yourself up to someone and you get somewhat scolded for it, my friend, I would gently ask you to not share your journey with them anymore. At least with that person. At least not now. Find another person. And that is the ultimate hope. That the God we may be questioning is not a distant, angry deity afraid of our scrutiny, but a loving Savior who bears the scars to prove his love and invites us to touch them for ourselves. Well, thank you so much for spending this time with me today, my friend. The conversation doesn't have to end here. I genuinely would love, by the way, I will never learn how to pronounce that word well. Genuinely. I genuinely would love to hear from you. So please feel free to email me anytime at isitbecauseofjesus@gmail.com. You can also find more resources over at isitbecauseofjesus.com. If this show is resonating with you, two things make a huge difference. First, sharing it with a friend who might be on a similar journey. And second, leaving a quick review on your podcast app. That really helps other people who are asking these same questions find us. Finally, if you feel led to support this mission, this adventure of helping people keep their eyes on Jesus as they navigate doubts and deconstruction, you can find our community on Patreon. Just search for Is It Because of Jesus? Your support is what makes this work possible. Until next time, take care, and remember, if you are doubting or deconstructing, is it because of Jesus?